The upcoming 2026 World Cup might just be the worst World Cup we are about to witness in the history of sport. Now, before you may argue that this is the only tournament in the history of the World Cup to have 48 teams, which has never been done before, it's also the only tournament that will not have one country, not two, but three different host nations, with the majority being played on US soil. These are all solid factors contributing to it being the greatest World Cup we've seen. However, if someone were to ask you what your favorite World Cup was, I can guarantee you that list would go something like this. Arguably, the 2010 World Cup. From the stack squads, football at its prime, the infamous Jabulani ball, and we can't forget the iconic 2010 banger of a playlist featuring Shakira's Waka Waka and Weaving Flag. Qatar 2022 witnessing the GOAT shake hands with Paradise and winning the World Cup in a Hollywood-style ending. Witnessing the greatest final ever in a football game, some might say Brazil 2014. Again, this was peak football prime. It was the GOAT's prime years. The World Cup was returning to the owners of the World Cup, Brazil, and we witnessed the greatest setback of all time, Germany destroying Brazil. And lastly, for longtime football fans, they might argue it was the '98 World Cup. It was the first World Cup with the 32-team format we know today. And of course, we can't forget about the legendary Zizou and his dominant performance that saw them win the final as they knocked out Brazil. In fact, I don't remember a time when there was not a single memorable World Cup. World Cups are just something special, soccer fan or not. Everyone can admit the world completely stops for a whole solid month. Major companies shut down, wars across the world stops for a month, and sometimes it even appears as if the world stops revolving. But because we are so heavily involved, to see who is crowned the best in the world, we don't seem to notice or feel it. It's like Christmas has come early. Each and every World Cup brings its own unique aura and unforgettable atmosphere, but it's with reasons that make sense why every footballer is concerned about this year's World Cup. Number one, never ever in the history of the World Cup has three different host nations hosted the World Cup, and due to this fact, many fans around the world are not happy. Although America and Canada have an amazing transportation and infrastructure system, millions of fans will find it difficult and complicated to travel in and out of three different countries, which is not even the least of the worries. The most important thing FIFA did not consider is the price. It's going to be costly for many non-North American natives, in and out of hotels, transport, and food. Secondly, as a professional athlete, the least of your worries has to be traveling. Traveling should be seamless and convenient, but for this year's World Cup, it's going to take a mental toll on many of the players caused by the rigorous schedule of flying up and down North America. Now, many of them are not new to tight schedules, rigorous flying, and constant traveling. But for the most intense event on the planet, it can take quite a toll on your body, and the entire world is expecting a breathtaking performance. Thirdly, although the tournament will be hosted on three different soils, we cannot take out the fact that Americans are the biggest commercial producers on the planet. They spend nearly $350 billion yearly on commercials, of which, reportedly, nearly $100 billion is used in the sports industry, meaning close to 30% of all commercials are being spent in the sports industry. Now, how does this affect the World Cup? You see, for major events and tournaments like the NBA Finals, the World Series, and specifically the Super Bowl, approximately 50 to 70 companies pay between 12 and 25 million for a 30 to 60 second commercial, meaning about 95 to 115 ads are shown in the space of 50 minutes, and leaving only about 11 minutes of clean, undisturbed game time. Now, for this year's World Cup, according to FIFA, instead of a 15-minute halftime, it'll be extended to 30 minutes, leaning more into a Super Bowl-style halftime show and allowing more ads to run in the 30-minute time frame. If you thought football was a continuous, non-stop minute-to-minute action, well, not for July 19th. FIFA also plans to implement a 3-minute structured hydration break in each half, allowing more commercial time for major brands. Unlike Qatar, where hydration breaks were actually needed because the majority of the country is desert, but this, however, is simply for more money. If you thought that the Christmas spirit of the World Cup couldn't get any worse, here's why it's a real deal breaker for most fans.
Anticipation is building ahead of next month's World Cup soccer tournament, and so are costs for both the fans and the host cities.
Price. On FIFA's official resale marketplace, staggering prices. The sport's governing body pocketing a 15% fee from both the seller and the buyer.
If some people put on a resale market some tickets for the final at $2 million.
We know that as a new World Cup approaches, pressure is always on for it to be better than the previous one. We are not entirely sure what plans Gianni Infantino has in store for this year's World Cup or what is going on in his right mind when he agreed to all this. But one thing is for sure, it's going to be the greatest World Cup ever in the history of football, if